Hello, Jocelyn here. Coming on live because I've been struggling to work out by myself this week. That's number one. Number two, I want to teach you what I go into this workout as with the step over jumps or the step jump overs and handstand push-ups. So the workout's gonna be 12 minutes and the exercises is jumping over the step, and then that's 12 or 16, and then 8 handstand push-ups, kipping handstand push-ups, and I'll give you tips of how I approach it along the way. The reason why I'm doing this is 1, it gives me more rest, selfish. 2, motivates me to do it, and 3, for you guys, those of you that I have to close my eyes at CrossFit because I don't want to see. So here we go. No music, which is hard, but no people either. See if my view's good. See the step. Alrighty, let's do this. First thing, notice every time I jumped over the step or I turned to the same side. That way I know I am, symmetric. I'm doing both sides. Second thing, I'm using a kind of like a broad jump approach rather than, I'm not doing this, which would be like a tuck jump, more of a hybrid, so that I clear my feet, I don't trip, but also because I want to use my hips. The problem with this is it feeds into a lot of you moms that are stuck in this like hip flex position and don't use hip extension. So hip, this is driven by my hips. I'll talk about the landing next time. Kipping handstand push-ups. 8 of them, kind of a lot for me. The biggest thing here is that I'm using my hips. So this workout is all about using my legs, specifically my hips, to drive the motion. My breathing pattern is I'm breathing in as I descend from the handstand, exhaling as I press out. I'm not really thinking brace my core. I don't have to. I allow my breathing to do the work. So this next time on the jumps, I'm going to focus on the landing. Turn the box this way. Now, I tore my ACL. I used to have really poor landing mechanics, so I'm thinking about knee placement and allowing my muscles to control the landing. The other thing is my timing of loading is ankles, hips, and knees. I'm not landing flat. It's hard to tell, but I'm grabbing here and sitting back. I can do that because I have the control. I have the awareness. But a lot of times I see people, well, I have plantar fasciitis, never ever work their feet. I feel zero remorse for you. Sorry to be sassy. Now, those of you that do work on your feet, different story. Those of you that complain and just go get injections and don't do anything beyond that, I don't. That was me, my spirit animal telling me stop being so mean. All right, back to the handstand push-ups. This time, I want you to see, I don't know if that camera angle will allow you. Pay attention to my ribs. So with that, I almost should be able to not use the wall. As I get better at these, I have less reliance on banging up against the wall. I keep my ribs more or less stacked over my pelvis versus in this arched position. Part of that is hand placement. Part of that's core control, skill. A lot of factors go into that, but as a newbie, I was like this arched mess. I shouldn't say mess, but I was really arched. But finding the right ankle or hand placement, so you're not too close to the wall, not too far away from the wall. You gotta have wrist mobility. If you're trying to go beyond your wrist mobility, you have to get the motion elsewhere. So those are things with that. Back to the jumps. And if you do this workout, your focus is to get to here before you lift off. Now, in order to be able to use your hips, you have to be able to hinge from your hip. So this is not a hip hinge. This is, notice if I power through my hips, I go straight up. If I power through my hips, now I go forward and up. So you gotta sit back. Your back stays in neutral. This isn't it. This isn't it. Here. Lift off. I'll pay attention to my hands this time. To give my ability to do that, which is a lot easier than previous times I've come on. One, because I'm not doing anything else in my arms. But two, I've been doing a lot of work, like holding in handstands, walking with my hands on handstands. So I have the capacity. A lot of people walk into gyms, me being one, and when I was a newer CrossFitter, thinking I should be able to do that. it just doesn't work that way. Didn't have the motor patterns. I didn't have the stamina. I didn't ever have to work my shoulder that way. So why would I be able to do that without really I wouldn't be able to do that. But I had to learn a lesson. So a lot of you have to learn a lesson. That's fine. All right, back to the jumps. So, I don't know if you noticed, but I took a different approach that time. I got a little bit more hoppy, a little less traveled. That requires less hip, still hip, but more ankle and more spring. Notice I have vertical leap. Not everyone has that. Just like not everyone's an endurance athlete, not everyone is a high jumper, not everyone is an acrobat elite athlete. Like, there's chance that you can develop it, but that takes time. I've been a jumper my whole life. I really can jump high, and as I get dense with muscle, it does kind of get harder. But as I moved out of the formal CrossFit gym with COVID, I'm getting the leap back. But I was never an endurance athlete, but after I tore my ACL, I started to train that. So it's trainable, but you have to put the right workouts and the right training in place to get what you want. Not just any workout's gonna develop that. It has to be specific. And then you have to have an intent. Like, my intent to this workout was to mentor you all. It wasn't to get my heart rate at such a high level, which I'm still getting a lot out of it because I'm being distracted. So that's another training style. Sometimes my focus with handstands and handstand push-ups is just to lead with a kickoff with my left foot. I really struggle to do that, and it's not even the handstand push-up itself, but the way you initiate the pattern trains your brain a little bit differently. So my 12 minutes is, I think, up. 3, 2, 1. A couple of takeaways that I want you to have gotten is, with your jumping, when you're jumping over an object and forward, you have to have a hip hinge. It's less knee bend. It's coming from the hip, so you could go forward when you explode. If you're going straight up, you have more knee. You can do this, or you can do this. It just depends on your direction. You could pick somewhere in between that. You can hop from your ankle. No hip. Knees there for controlling the landing. When you land, absorbing the landing with your muscles, in addition to your joints and tendons, is really important. And just bringing awareness to that should improve your mechanics, and then as you're ready, you can take on more instruction from someone like me. For handstand push-ups, you gotta develop capacity, guys. Those of you going to CrossFit gym as a newbie and you don't have any capacity, don't think that you're gonna be a pro. Like, I've made those mistakes, and I could barely move my arms. I was a student, and had ice on my shoulders. I was holding my arms like this. Secondly, it's again, a kipping all from the hip. It's a very much of a core intensive workout, but once you get to the point where you can coordinate your breath and you have deep core automatic control, you don't have to think about it, that's gonna become a lot easier, but you have to get there. You have to practice to get there. You gotta have wrist mobility so you can get your forearm vertical and you're pressing. Where you put your hands, if the wider they go, I didn't mention this, you're more gonna be in an unstable position from the shoulder perspective, but you have less of a distance to travel. The more wide you go, if you have tightness in your shoulders, you just have less shoulder mobility, you have more give there. And then, I didn't talk about this, but my rep scheme is 8. The most handstand push-ups I could do is probably like 15 or 20 in a row. So picking a rep scheme that is realistic to come out of. So it should never exceed your time that you can hold up at the top. I didn't talk about that. You want to, I use as a guide, like let's say if I could hold a handstand, even with my feet resting against the wall for 45 seconds, I would choose a rep scheme that's probably 20 seconds to 50% of my holds, because it's not just the hold, it's the mid-range, it's the control. So I'm gonna get tired faster, I have the heart rate component, so I say however long you can hold and hold well, divide that by 2, and then subtract like 5 to 10 seconds depending. And that's how many reps, like you time yourself, say you can only do 5 and 15 seconds or whatever, that's all you're gonna do, max reps in a set, like a workout like this. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. I'm not telling you to go do it. I'm just, if you ever do these movements, don't say I didn't ever teach you anything. Have a great Friday and see you next time.